Hi, I'm Al Martinez. Welcome to Untrashed. And today we're going to do a bit of untrashing using the ever popular milk bottles that everybody gets. We're going to use wine corks. Now the wine corks are something that I've collected for many years, which is the reason I've got so many. So if either you or your parents or your family or you know somebody that owns a bar or a restaurant, you can get a lot of these for nothing because they get thrown away with the bottles quite often. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the milk bottle and we're going to peel the labels off, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into strips, and getting the labels off is kind of important. Now I've said before that the labels on this, they make great tape if you want to save on tape. You can pull these off, and the way you pull these off is you have to be very patient, because they've designed this adhesive to stick to this plastic. Getting anything to stick to plastic is a bit tricky. So you just need to pull it off really slowly so you don't tear it, because you want to try and not leave any of this paper on the plastic. Okay, so that's what I've done. So I've got one here that I took the plastic off. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the part of the bottle that I'm going to cut off, and I'm going to cut it off just below this handle, because I'm going to use this part of the bottle to make a long string to thread these corks on. So I'll take my marker, I'll draw a line, and try and draw your line so they meet up. Okay, because it's gonna help you when you start cutting these little strips, which I'll show you in a minute. So I've got that marked there. I'll get my utility knife and my ability to see better and cut this part of this milk bottle off. So when you cut this off, where your cuts end up, if they meet, that's really good. If they don't meet, don't worry about it. We can fix that. I'm just carefully guiding this blade so that when I get to the end, the cuts meet up. Like that. Ta-da! Okay, so the next thing is that we're going to start with these scissors, and I chose to use these kitchen shears because they're a bit heavier duty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making a cut, and I cut inside about 4 millimeters or 3/16, and I'm going to start cutting a strip. So here's what you need to know about doing this. The way they've designed these scissors is, and these are right-handed scissors, is the blade on this side allows the metal to come over the top of this. The blade on this side wants to push the metal down. So if I cut this from this side, because the bottle is curved this way, it doesn't want to cut very easy because this blade wants to push it up. So the reason I've cut it from this side is because it just cuts much easier, which you'll see here. And you just go around. And when I get to a corner, what I do is I flatten the milk bottle like that, so the scissor just goes right easily through the plastic. When you get to the starting point, you have to go a little bit that way, not too much, and it might be a little bit thinner there, which doesn't really matter, but then I'm going to continue to cut. Okay, so I keep going like this and like this, go around and around and around. And you just do this until you get to this point. So how much length do you think you get from this bottle? I'll show you in a second. This is one I did yesterday. So this is how far I cut down on the bottle with the scissors. And that's how thick I cut it. So watch this. Look at that. That's about 15 feet. So you got plenty of thread to do a lot of different things. So what I'm going to start you on is I'm going to start you on a project that you can use for a couple of different things. This is one that I made with my daughter, and it's basically called a trivet or a hot plate, and you put it on the table, you bring out something really hot off the stove and you put it on here to protect the table so it doesn't burn, because the cork doesn't burn. When we did this one, my daughter thought it'd be cool to make these cool little beads out of the plastic from the drink bottles, which is a different kind of plastic. The drink bottles is PET, and the milk bottle is polypropylene. Making these beads, I was watching her, and it's a little bit fiddly because she had to cut them in short lengths, just the right width, curl them on her finger, and then she used a candle very delicately to burn the ends. I thought that was a bit labor intensive, and the fact that I don't have two good hands, this one works okay, but not great. I thought we won't do that one today, but maybe later on I'll get her in here to show you how to do these from the drink bottles, those clear plastic ones. So the other thing I did is I did one this morning. And this one is without the beads, using the PET or the polypropylene milk bottle. So what I decided that we're going to do is we're going to do this mat, and this mat can be for a casserole dish, or you can make it big enough for a bath mat when you step out of the shower, because these corks, they're kind of soft, they're not hard on your feet, and the water doesn't harm them at all. So I'm going to show you how to start one of these, and you can make it as big or as small as you like. So what I've done in my studio is I've taken all of my wine corks and I've drilled a hole in each one of them. So you can do this with a hand drill. The thing that's a little bit kind of important is the fact that the hole goes through straight. Okay, if it goes in like this and comes out up here, you're going to get an unevenness on your platform here. So if at your house you have a drill press, you can set these up in your drill press. And I set this up against a piece of wood and drilled them all so all the holes are nice and straight. So this, and just to let you know, this amount of surface area is about 30 wine corks. So, so it takes me about 3 days to go through a bottle of wine. So it'd take me, what, 90 days to get 30 corks, 3 months. But if you know somebody that has a business that sells wine, you'll get 30 of these easy peasy. Okay, so we're going to start. And I'm going to use some of this that is off of this. Okay, so because we've got so much, 15 feet is a lot to hang on to. So I'm going to cut this off here. And I'm going to use this much because the arm width is easier for me to work with. And I'll show you how to put these things together little by little. Turn my hot glue gun on. So I'll cut this. So because we're going to start with triangles, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3 of these on the end of this. So when I put 3 of these on here and thread it through the last one, this is the way that I'll call it locking the end. I fold it back on itself. I push it into the cork, and then I pull the long part to create a triangle. So that's the first triangle. So to make another triangle here, I'm going to add 2 more corks. So I've got those 2 corks. And then because it comes out here, I'm going to put the end of that in this way. So you have to try and keep these things pulled tight so your triangles stay as close together as you can. And this is something that you'll have to just practice. Don't get too frustrated. Just be patient and just let yourself play with this, okay? That's what Untrashed is all about. It's about playing with stuff. So I'm going to put 2 more corks. I'm going to go this way. So I put 1, 2. Then I'm going to go through this one to create that triangle. Okay, so we've got another triangle there. So this joint here where these two is kind of sloppy, so I'm going to go back through this one cork. So that pulls these edges of the corks up against each other tight. So I'm going to go 2 corks this way. Now the other thing I'll tell you is that you don't have to do triangles. You can do squares. You can do circles. You can play with different ways that these corks get threaded together. Essentially what you're just trying to do is you're just trying to make a cork surface that can protect the table or be stood on with wet feet. Okay, that's the purpose of this. So the one rule of Untrashed is there are no rules. And because there are no rules, I'm just sort of making this up as I go along, which I love doing anyway. Okay, and I want you to enjoy that. I want you to get into the fun of taking trash and doing something crazy. Okay, and using wine corks for bath mats is a bit crazy, but we like crazy, don't we? That's why you're watching Untrashed. The other thing that you might want to get a hold of is a pair of needle nose pliers or these little suture, I'm not sure what they're called, forceps, that's what they're called. And you can get them from like a pharmacy, or you can get them from a fishing shop, because the people that make fly fishing flies, they use these things to tie tiny little knots, which is what the surgeons do when they stitch up your hands and your cuts and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so before I go any further, I'm going to try and find the one that I started with. which I can't find, but we don't worry about that right now. So, 2 more corks. Pull this together. So, see how that shape is here? I want to try and go back around the front here and add more corks so I get more of a round thing. And this is why the polypropylene is really good for this, because it slides through tight places really easy. This is a bit like sewing, okay? So the cork is the fabric, and we're just trying to make like a tablecloth or something, or a placemat, which is essentially what we're doing, is we're making a heat-resistant placemat or a water-resistant mat. Okay, so that I'm going to put through here. I'm going to pull that tight. And then I'm going to tuck the end of this back in there. And just put a tiny little dab of hot glue on the openings. So now we've got one piece here, another piece here. So I'm going to join these two together. So I'm going to look at how they can fit together best. Grab another length. Of my poly thread. And I'm going to thread this in through here. I'm going to lock this end off. Dab of hot glue there. Then I'm going to thread through this one. add one cork here. That was not good. I'm going to put it in from this side. Okay, so this is basically just making it up as you go along to see how can I make this work. So I'm going to create a triangle by going into this one. Go through this one. Add 2 more corks. If at some point your triangles turn into weird shapes, don't worry about it. I'm going to go over here where there's that big dip and fill that area in. No, that didn't work. It's not what I want. And if what you're doing doesn't work, try something different. Okay. This is starting to look like a bath mat. Exciting, huh? But then again, when I do things like this, the thing that I feel is I just feel like I'm having fun. And to me, that's the most important thing. Just having fun. And I think that's why they asked me to do Untrashed. Because for me, this is fun. Just making things up as I go along. I grew up in a poor part of Los Angeles. And the thing that we used to do with my friends and his big brother is we used to climb into the dumpsters and see what the factories were throwing away. And sometimes it was pieces of wood, sometimes it was old pallets, sometimes pieces of cardboard, all sorts of things. And we'd pull them out and we'd say, wow, look at this stuff. We could do so much stuff with this. And we'd make up our games. And our games were basically fantasies and made-believe stories or things that we've seen in the movies. And we'd make our props just from that sort of stuff. And that's where I learned how to untrash the most. And that was about 65 years ago. So, I'm just going to do this last one here. I'm going to tie this off. Put a bit of hot glue on the end of that. And we call that a work in progress. Okay, so see that much of it is like a mat. So if I added a bit more here, it's big enough for 2 feet, or big enough for 2 casserole dish, or turkey serving, anything hot, big. So that's essentially what you can do with a milk bottle and wine corks. So remember, every little bit of Untrashed helps. Have fun, and thanks for watching.